Good morning, America. ABC News exclusive. President Trump in his first network interview from the White House, what he's saying about torture.
You're now the president. Do you want waterboarding?
His claim of voter fraud.
You have people that are registered who are dead, who are illegals, who are in 2 states.
As the president takes action on building a wall and increasing border security.
President Trump taking World News Tonight anchor David Muir inside the Oval Office, granting extraordinary access to the White House. Plus, what Trump is revealing about his relationship with the former president, the letter that was left behind, and their ride together to the Capitol. The exclusive details right here on GMA.
Who can turn the world on with her smile?
In celebrating Mary Tyler Moore, the television star who turned the world on with her smile, passing away at 80. From her breakout role on The Dick Van Dyke Show,
That is the actual fact,
to her groundbreaking Mary Tyler Moore Show.
You got spunk.
well,
I hate spunk.
Inspiring generations of women and fearlessly tackling issues before anyone else. Now her co-star, Ed Asner, and friend, Carol Burnett, exclusively sharing their memories right here on GMA as tributes pour in from around the world.
You're gonna make it after all.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
And good morning, America. Boy, that song and that smile bring back so many memories, and we are going to celebrate the life of Mary Tyler Moore this morning.
Warm memories. She was really a game changer. She changed the game for working women, for comedy. And we want to take a live look at the statue of her famous character, yes, Mary Richards in Minneapolis.
And that statue, it showed this famous scene where she threw her hat in the air. And we got the real story behind that hat throwing moment coming up.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, we'll explain that woman that was looking at her from behind.
Looking at her like, what
there's
are
a
you
story
doing?
behind that. But we're going to begin with the latest from President Trump. David Muir is here. He'll have that exclusive for us in just a moment.
But first, President Trump's actions on immigration, first steps on that border wall, also targeting sanctuary cities with sanctions. They are drawing fire across the country and overseas. More to come today as he tees up new executive orders, meets with congressional Republicans. So let's go straight to Jonathan Karl at the White House. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. President Trump is traveling to Philadelphia today to huddle with House Republicans at their annual retreat. Huge items on the legislative agenda, like how to replace Obamacare, the $1 trillion stimulus he's talked about. Republicans want specifics, but George, I am told that President Trump is going there in part because he wants to talk about the issue of voter fraud, the unsubstantiated charges of massive voter fraud. He would like Congress to investigate that as well. And I am told by a senior administration official that we could see a presidential directive as early as today ordering an investigation by the executive branch. So we'll have an executive branch investigation, a congressional investigation, even though we've already learned overnight that at least 3 of President Trump's associates were registered in 2 states, one of the problems he identified. Let's go to the executive orders on immigration. They say that illustrates the problem, by the way. Okay. We're getting a lot of pushback. Some conservative groups appreciate what the president's doing on enforcement. You've got the ACLU, though, saying this is a deportation force on steroids, and big city mayors across the country really pushing back against the president on immigration. And they're saying essentially that they will defy the order. Also, governors, one quote from Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, he said, as I've said before, I say again today, if there is a move to deport immigrants, I say start with me. Of course, it should be noted, Governor Cuomo was born in Queens, New York. And John, meanwhile, the Mexican president's saying he is not going to pay for the wall, and they've been in discussions with the administration. Yes, in fact, he addressed the Mexican people last night, saying Mexico does not believe in walls. I've said it once, and I'll say it again, Mexico will not pay for any wall. And Mexican sources tell us that he's considering canceling his visit that was planned next week to Washington to meet with President Trump. Okay, John Karl, thanks very much.
And President Trump, of course, talked to our David Muir about that first network interview that we all were watching last night. David, good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you, Robin and George. And, you know, you heard John Karl just say there, he's going to press this with congressional Republicans now, this notion that there were millions of illegal votes on Election Day, and that's the reason he lost the popular vote. We did sit down with him. We asked him, where is the proof for that? But we're going to begin here with this moment. about torture, and after something he told me during the campaign and something he might now disagree with some of his top cabinet members that he's now counting on. Take a look. The last president, President Obama, said the U.S. does not torture. Will you say that?
Well, I have a general who I have great respect for, General Mattis, who said, I was a little surprised, who said he's not a believer in torture. As you know, Mr. Pompeo was just affirmed by the Senate. He's a fantastic guy. He's going to be the head of the CIA, and you'll have somebody fabulous as opposed to the character that just got out, who was not fabulous at all. And he will, I think, do a great job. And he is, you know, I haven't gone into great detail, but I will tell you, I have spoken to others in intelligence, and they are big believers in, as an example, waterboarding.
You did tell me.
Because they say it does work. It does work.
Mr. President, Mr. President, you told me during one of the debates that you would bring back waterboarding, and a hell of a lot worse. I would do what I would do. I want to keep our country safe. I want to keep our country safe. What does that mean?
When they're shooting, when they're chopping off the heads of our people and other people, when they're chopping off the heads of people because they happen to be a Christian in the Middle East, when ISIS is doing things that nobody has ever heard of since medieval times, would I feel strongly about waterboarding? As far as I'm concerned, we have to fight fire with fire.
You're now the president. Do you want waterboarding?
I don't want people to chop off the citizens or anybody's heads in the Middle East, okay? Because they're Christian or Muslim or anything else. I don't want, look, you are old enough to have seen a time that was much different. You never saw heads chopped off until a few years ago. Now they chop them off and they put them on camera and they send them all over the world. So we have that, and we're not allowed to do anything. We're not playing on an even field. I will say this. I will rely on Pompeo and Mattis and my group. And if they don't want to do, that's fine. If they do want to do, then I will work toward that end. I want to do everything within the bounds of what you're allowed to do legally. But do I feel it works? Absolutely, I feel it works.
So you'd be okay with it as president?
I will rely on General Mattis, and I'm going to rely on those two people and others. And if they don't want to do it, it's 100% okay with me. Do I think it works? Absolutely.
And after telling congressional leaders he invited to the White House that he lost the popular vote because of millions of illegal votes, we asked, where's the proof?
You have people that are registered who are dead, who are illegals, who are in 2 states. You have people registered in 2 states. They're registered in New York and in New Jersey. They vote twice. There are millions of votes, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to do an investigation.
You're now president of the United States. When you say
of course, and I want the voting process to be legitimate.
But now, what I'm asking, when you say, in your opinion, millions of illegal votes, that is something that is extremely fundamental to our functioning democracy, a fair and free election. You say you're going to launch an investigation into this.
Done.
What you have presented so far has been debunked. It's been called false.
Take a look at the Pew reports.
I called the author of the Pew report last night, and he told me that they found no evidence of voter fraud.
Then why did he write the report?
He said no evidence of voter fraud.
Me. Then why did he write the report? So according to Pew report, then he's groveling again. You know, I always talk about the reporters that grovel when they want to write something that you want to hear, but not necessarily millions of people want to hear or have to hear.
So you've launched an investigation.
We're going to launch an investigation to find out.
And we just heard from John Carl, who's going to ask Congress as well. David, you talked about Obamacare with the president as well. Lots of big promises on the replacement, not a lot of clarity on how he's going to do it.
Yeah, and we've heard from so many viewers on this issue going into this interview. We've seen the estimates, 18 million Americans could lose their health insurance if Obamacare is repealed. We asked President Trump about that because he told the Washington Post, I want insurance for everyone. That sounds like universal coverage. He said, what my plan is, I want to take care of everybody. And when we said, does that mean no one loses their health insurance on Obamacare right now or ends up with anything less? He said, well, I can't promise, when no one will. He said, we're talking about millions of people, but he said, my plan is I want to take care of everyone. We know the debate on Capitol Hill is over this word access. Access to health care, or will you have the insurance that you have right now?
That's the big one. Martha, going to bring you in right now because his comments, the president's comments on waterboarding, and he says he believes that it does work, it is effective, though he did say he's going to listen to his appointees.
And he will listen to his appointees at this point. But I think what Donald Trump did in that interview, David, is he said exactly what he'd been saying in campaigns, in that debate, and yet he can now pass it off to his cabinet members and say, look, General Mattis, and I think we all remember what General Mattis apparently said to President Trump, which was, look, I don't really think it works. I think maybe a cigarette and a beer will work better. So Donald Trump can say he's listening to General Mattis, he's listening to Mike Pompeo, but then still appeal to those voters who put him in there because of those tough words about enhanced interrogation.
Something that also struck you in David's interview with the president when he referred to the safe zones in Syria.
Yeah, he said, David, that he also said that in the campaign, that he would have safe zones in Syria. That is so complicated, so expensive. He can try other countries to do something like that. People in Syria, but it's very difficult. Does it mean he will send in U.S. troops? Is it that important that he'll send U.S. troops to protect people in Syria?
And we're getting a lot of pushback, John Carl, from on Capitol Hill also on this enhanced interrogation and torture.
That's right. John McCain said explicitly the president can sign whatever orders he wants, but we are not bringing torture back, not in the United States. But I have to tell you that my discussions with senior administration's officials here is that the president's going to do, what he told David Muir. What he told David. He's going to listen to Secretary Mattis on this, even as he believes torture works. There is no effort to bring back those interrogation techniques, at least not yet.
It was such a wide-ranging interview. Other topics I was struck by when you asked him about those million tortures the day after the inauguration all around the world. What he had to say about that.
It was interesting, Robin. We were walking on Colonnade, and I asked the president, could you hear the marchers? They were right in front of the White House. He said, I couldn't hear them. But I did ask him, you are their president now, and do you sense a responsibility to them? He said there's going to be another march this weekend, a pro-life march that will be even larger, perhaps. And I said, we don't want to compare crowd sizes here. I just wonder if you feel as though you need to unite the country now. And he said, I do sense that responsibility. But then he added, but we just had an election.
And we're going to have much more from you coming up. I know you're going to have more news tonight, but also in our next half hour. All right, David, thank you. Michael?
All right, thank you, Robin. And now to the stock market, closing over the 20,000 mark for the first time ever. And our chief business and economic correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, at the New York Stock Exchange with more. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Michael. And here at the New York Stock Exchange, they are wearing these Dow 20,000 hats to commemorate the occasion, the first time in its 120-year history that the Dow is now above 20,000. A rally that started in 2009 has been turbocharged since the election, the Dow gaining more than 1,700 points on the prospect of lower taxes, lower regulations, and infrastructure spending under President Trump. Michael, that is something that would help corporate America.
But how does it also help all Americans' bottom line? I think that's what most people are worried about. What is the bottom line for everybody out there?
Exactly. That's what most people are concerned with. 52% of Americans have investments in the market, and the average retirement account since Election Day is now up more than $6,000. However, you have to keep in mind that higher stocks, as we've seen since 2009, do not necessarily mean higher wages and more jobs, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. We'll keep our eye and see if it keeps on going up. All right, Robin.
All right, Michael. Now let's go to Amy for the other top stories of the morning, starting with a big fire that was very close to Seattle.
Yeah, that's right. The video has been coming in overnight. Engulfed. Take a look at this apartment complex in Linwood, Washington. The building was under construction and it collapsed. At least 150 people in nearby buildings had to evacuate. 2 firefighters have been injured but are expected to be okay. And Chicago police say 6 people have been shot, including a 12-year-old girl during a memorial service for another shooting victim. President Trump has warned he will send in the feds if Chicago can't control the violence. The White House has said he was referring to federal aid. And emergency crews in Iowa have been battling wind and snow while scrambling to clean up a leak from a broken gas pipeline. Nearly 140,000 gallons of diesel mix spilled. Officials say it appears the water supply has not been contaminated. And finally, it's being called Smonday, the Monday after the Super Bowl, and one company says we should all get that day off. Yay! Yay! It's my birthday, too. Heinz has released this video featuring people dressed up as ketchup and mustard to promote an online petition to make Monday a holiday. And the company is setting an example using the money, I love this, that it could have spent on a Super Bowl ad to instead give all of its salaried workers that day off. And this implies thousands of workers, so I'm all about that trend spreading.
I love how you just slipped it. You always got to wait.
I just came up with that on the
Always
fly.
got to wait for it, baby. Thank you, and you slipped in about your birthday too. Nice. We're going to celebrate the life, the legacy of Mary Tyler Moore, who, as you know, passed away Wednesday at the age of 80. She changed the game for so many women, both on screen, off. Yeah, she turned the world on with that smile.
Who can turn the world on with her smile?
For many, it was Mary Tyler Moore.
Associate producer, can you believe that?
Reaction from fans, friends, and co-stars pouring in, honoring the legendary actress. Longtime friend Carol Burnett telling us,
she will be missed, and she will always be loved. And Mary Richards will live on. She truly was America's sweetheart.
as a 30-something single career woman in the 1970s, her character paved the way for the modern American woman. From the moment she walked through the doors of the fictional TV station WJM-TV, Minneapolis.
But it does seem that you've been asking a lot of very personal questions that don't have a thing to do with my qualifications for this job.
You know what? You got spunk.
Well,
I hate spunk.
Mary Tyler Moore.
The Mary Tyler Moore Show was a hit, scoring 29 Emmys spanning 7 seasons.
In his own words, a little salt, a little gas, a little seltzer, darling.
Co-star Ed Asner sharing his memories of Moore with Good Morning America.
Every day of going to work was a pleasure because the beautiful Mary was there waiting.
From a young age, Moore dreamed of becoming a professional dancer. Her breakout role came on The Dick Van Dyke Show.
oh, Rob, how could you?
The actress often showing off her dancing skills on screen. In 1980, she earned an Academy Award nomination for her emotional portrayal of a distant mother in Robert Redford's Ordinary People.
It's what you think I've done. You blame me for the whole thing.
Out of the spotlight, she had many challenges and battled type 1 diabetes, often lobbying on Capitol Hill in the fight to find a cure for diabetes. Mary Tyler Moore will always be remembered for her grace and humor.
If you could just stop the defensive stuff for a minute, you might begin to realize that you are now a great-looking girl. Mary, please. Of course, in that elephant dress.
And we at GMA were lucky enough to witness the final cast reunion in 2013.
How fabulous to be working with the people who are your very good friends.
But it's true.
No, it's
that,
true.
that you become even more than family. You become, because it's something that you can't explain to anybody. It's just there.
And I look around at these girls and I just,
Me too.
my heart fills up with so much
Oh, God,
happiness.
look at you, sweetheart.
Happiness and love and celebration and what life really is.
Because it's true. Love really is all around us. Thank you. Bless you, Mary.
And we are going to celebrate Mary Tyler Moore all morning long, but first let's go to Ginger right now.
I'm celebrating her here. Minneapolis, very cold, as it should be this time of year, but looking at that snow, lake effect snow covering the state of Michigan, and warnings up for western New York, 1 to 3 feet by the end of the weekend. All right, let's get to the sunny cities now, brought to you by Sprint.
Hi, I'm Paul. I switched to Sprint because all networks are great. We're talking within a 1% difference in reliability of each other. With Sprint's unlimited plan and my amazing iPhone 7, I've got all the data I need to learn the things I want to do. ¿Dónde está el restaurante? Fourth video today. Good thing I don't have to worry about overages. How's that for unlimited?
And now, find out how to get a free iPhone SE from Sprint.
And a very good morning, meteorologist Brian Vandergraaf. Temperatures this morning fairly comfortable in the low 50s in many spots. We could see an isolated sprinkler, light shower really early, but through the mid-morning it all dries out, becoming breezy at times, mid-50s through the afternoon. Not quite as good as yesterday, but still pleasant. 32 to 38 tonight, partly cloudy, breezy and cold. Tomorrow still breezy and feeling more seasonable. Highs tomorrow only in the lower 40s.